Good morning, Chair Postman, members, Vollendorf, staff and guests. The lobbies are open and the recording has begun.
Thank you, Gretchen. Good morning, everybody. We'll convene the Washington State Liquor and Cannabis Board meeting for Wednesday, November 20th, 24. Member Garrett's in transit and will be joining us soon. First item we have up is just approval of meeting minutes for October 9th, 2024 and October 23rd, 2024. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Yeah, this is Jim. I make a motion that we approve the minutes for October 9th and October 23rd.
Great. And I will second, then those are approved unanimously. Now we're going to consider the social equity transfer and assumption decision-making that we talked about yesterday. Sarah Worley and Nicola Reed are back to present that.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Great. Good morning, Chair Postman, members Vollendorf, and Garrett once she gets here. I am Sarah Worley, Case Manager for the Social Equity and Cannabis Program. Today, Nicola and I are representing social equity in the licensing division. We are requesting a decision by the board for the third-party contractor or the licensing division to review qualifications when requests for a change in ownership are made by a social equity licensee after 1 year and through year 5. We have approached the 1 year mark since the issuance of the first social equity license and may start to receive applications to process ownership changes. An individual would have to make up or be part of 51% majority or controlling interest in the business who has or have resided in Washington State for at least 6 months prior to the application date. While new applicants qualifying to be added to a business won't have to be scored, they would need to be a social equity applicant and meet 2 of the 4 initial requirements as stated in RCW 6950-335. Licensing has followed its normal review process in bringing forth this consideration. We are requesting the board to determine who would review documentation to verify qualifications are met from the following 2 options. Option 1, the third-party contractor would review and make the determination if an individual or individuals qualifying as social equity applicant. This would be licensing's recommendation to keep with the intent of the third-party reviewer. A little background reference, the Liquor and Cannabis Board used a third-party contractor as recommended by the Social Equity Task Force to review and prioritize all social equity applications. The use of the third-party contractor was to avoid any appearance that agency employees influence the process. Option 2, the licensing department would review and make the determination if an individual or individuals qualify as a social equity applicant. Thank you for the opportunity to present this. Are there any questions for Nicola or I?
No, I just have one, which I don't know. Do you need a formal vote from us here today?
Nicola?
Yes, we would like that if you could.
Okay.
Chairperson,
Great.
thank you.
Then my recommendation would be to accept the recommendation to use the third party, keeping with the intent of, I think, the underlying statute as well as how we're doing this. Is there a motion to approve the staff recommendation?
Yeah, this is Jim. I make a motion that we accept option 1, approving the staff recommendation.
Great, thank you. And I'll second that, and that is approved unanimously. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work on this.
Thank you.
We will look at rulemaking timelines now with Cassidy West, our Policy and Rules Manager. You're here.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. So good morning, Chair Postman, Board Member Vollendorf. So I provided a detailed update yesterday with rulemaking timelines, but just to recap, we will have 2 stakeholder engaged, 2 opportunities for stakeholders. Thank you. The microphone was not on.
Okay. I can hear you.
Well, that's good. Okay, let's start over. Yesterday I provided a detailed update about rulemaking timelines. And so just a brief recap, we'll have 2 stakeholder engagement opportunities coming up. We're sending out a Gov delivery message with draft rules for the sale of cannabis waste as well as the minors on non-retail premises. So we're planning on sending that out this week, and stakeholders will have until December 6th to comment on those proposals. And so those draft rules will also be on our website. So we're looking forward to that. And then we'll have the 2 public hearings coming up on 12/4, and one for social equity. And then the other one is for House Bill 2204 for emergency liquor permits. And then for social equity, yesterday I mentioned that we had received some comments. So on the new supplemental proposed rules, we received actually 2 comments from the same person. So I should clarify that. And it is with regards to the license mobility and having issues finding a location. So any questions about that?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
No questions.
Okay, so then also coming up in December, we'll have 2 petition responses. One is the captive insurance petition. The other one is regarding adjusting seasonal hours of operation for certain alcohol licensees. And then we also tentatively plan to hold stakeholder engagement in December for House Bill 2151 with draft rules on those. And then we may present the 102s for the board for the minors on premises and waste rules, depending on stakeholder engagement. And finally, we plan on bringing the 103s for social equity and then the emergency liquor permits. Any questions about any of that? Okay, great.
Then rules petition review on policy, cannabis payment flexibility.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so today I'll be presenting the staff recommendation on the petition that we received on October 14th, 2024 from Fabian Toder representing Green Labs LLC. The petition requested that the petition pertained to the recently amended rule requiring checks be deposited within 5 days of delivery. The petitioner seeks a reconsideration of the 5-day rule, proposing an extension of a 15 window instead. The petition, excuse me, I lost my spot. The petitioner has expressed concerns about the practical challenge of meeting the new requirements. And so more specifically, it was with regards to having to drive 150 miles to be able to deposit the check. And so he cited that based on his business practices, he'll need 12 to 15 days for that receipt. So the issue that we're presenting to the board is whether to accept or deny the petition request to extend the time frame for allowing depositing checks after delivery. When making our analysis, we do consider several factors, including legal authority, impacts, economic equity assessment, DEIB assessment, public input, as well as data that we received and policy alignment. So the board does have legal authority to adopt rules regarding the petitioner's request. And so we are recommending today that the board deny the petition, and for a couple of reasons. So the first one is the agency recently recently conducted the rulemaking, as you know, for the rule being requested to change. And that rulemaking was conducted compliant with the APA. So that means we held robust stakeholder engagement. We had the informal comment period where we only received the 1 comment regarding not sufficient funds and a protocol for that. We then held the survey it was open for about a month from June 3rd to July 8th. And we had about 80 respondents. So that's good. And then we filed the CR 102 on July 31st, and that's where we had comments from WACA and others about allowing not requiring a deadline for the deposit. And so they cited that there may be unexpected circumstances that could arise that would result in noncompliance. We did, while the petitioner did express concerns that we, are valid and do care about, there wasn't really any data that was provided regarding that. And so that's another reason that we're going to recommend that the board deny the petitioner. And then finally, we want to make sure that we're representing a broad, all of our stakeholders. And so we received no other comments about the deposit date. And so for those reasons today, I'm requesting that the board deny the petition for rulemaking. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Member Garrett?
So when you said we had 80 responses and comments, and I'm trying to understand and reading an email that I got yesterday, and I think all of us got, is on the 80 responses and the comment and then the public comment, are you saying that it was only a few people that had concerns about this? That's number one. And then my second one is, what is it that we're trying to do here compared to what things were all along? So I know that they had to make payment as soon as they received the product. But did we ever have anything around how depositing the check, the actual payment in the past, and what it is that did we do with the new procedure?
Sure, thank you. So to answer your first question, we did have minimal comment, only the very few about the deposit date and that timeline. So it was small percent relative to the comments we received otherwise. And then with regards to your second question, prior to the recent rule, the original rule required that check payments be made to the seller at the time of delivery or no later than the time of delivery. And so we received a petition to change this to allow checks to be mailed and to allow that payment to be made within 3 days of receiving payment. So the new rule that was recently adopted requires that, or allows checks to be mailed now 1 day following delivery. So instead of that payment being provided same day, they now have an additional day to provide the payment. And then now there is a new requirement that those checks be deposited within 5 days of delivery. Does that answer your questions?
So before the rule change, was there something on time frame to make the deposit?
No. And so so as we were having our discussions throughout the rulemaking, we wanted to make sure that we weren't treating checks differently than other types of payment methods. So the section WAC 314-55-115 covers a variety of different payment methods and then what the parameters are for that. And so the language that we used is based on those other payment methods. Does that make sense? So for example, if you do a not sufficient fund, an electronic payment, then that has to be complete within the 5-day time frame. So that's the policy alignment.
So we're giving people time so they don't have to pay immediately that day, but there is some timeline on it, so it doesn't just
Exactly.
drag on too long.
But is it, and the petitioner, are they saying if they take a payment today up on delivery, we're now saying that they have to make that deposit within 5 days?
Yes.
Was that something we've did in the past?
Not for checks, no. But yeah,
Just since this rule went through.
just since this rule went through. But again, it is something required for the other types of payment methods in that section. So it's not outside the scope of how we're treating methods of payment for cannabis.
So we were making this based on other payment methods?
We wanted to make sure that we weren't allowing checks to be used in a way that other payment methods can't. So what we want to prevent here is an extension of credit. And by having a deposit deadline, that helps create that accountability. Or and even not just deposit deadline, but date that a payment has to be complete.
And it also provides consistency with other practices regarding payments.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And so what the petitioner is asking for, as I understand this, sort of to lay on top of what we had done just recently, was he was saying it was potentially a burden to have to get to the bank within 5 days, given where
Yes.
you do, right?
And I should mention though, before this rulemaking, basically checks couldn't be mailed at all.
Right.
So it is additional flexibility.
Right. And so, yeah, the petitioner's asking us to kind of reconsider that one piece of what we had done. But it still is more lenient than it was pre-rule.
Yes. And so
So
we are.
The
Oh,
lenient is that they don't have to take the check up on delivery. The person can actually mail the check to them, and then they have 5 days from receiving the mail check. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay,
I
okay.
think it's well,
Oh,
I
Five-
think it's 5 days for the total transaction to
5
take
days
place.
following the follow after the check's been mailed. So if
5
you-
days after the sale has been made, not after the check has been mailed, right?
5 days after delivery. And so there's a definition for delivery in that section.
So that's when the clock starts ticking, is you
Exactly.
deliver the product, you payment, and then but 5 days from the clock starting on the delivery of the product. So you can't say, I'll get back to you at the end of the month, right?
Correct. Yes.
So, and the other thing I think is we are going to look at this, we're going to have a review built into this. And, I think this petition just wasn't timely in the sense that we had just finished this. I think we want to give it a chance
Yeah,
to work out, but
exactly.
we also need to look at how this is working practically and see if people are having a hard time. We had concerns also about what happens if the mail is just slow. Who do we punish then? And I think that's a fair question that we're going to have to keep an eye on. And though that's something people could show us, there should be evidence of that. When is it postmarked, et cetera. But I think we have to look, I think you all are going to have to look at that. I think that's fair to say, we're changing these terms and to see, but in this case, it's just, do we want to add even more time for it? And I think might just been too soon to change what we just went through with that rulemaking project.
And I would agree with that. I think considering that we just went through this process and we've got a process to review it in the future, I would agree with
Okay.
And I don't know if this helps at all, but we have had issues with extension of credit in the past. So we want to make sure that we're addressing that as well.
Any further questions or comments from the board? No? Okay. Then is there a motion to accept the staff recommendation to deny the petition on medical cannabis payment flexibility?
This is Ali. I move that we deny the petition.
A second?
that. This is Jim. I second.
Great, then that is approved.
All right. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry about
Um,
that.
The next petition we have to consider is a petition asking us to replace the cannabis central reporting system with something better. And Denise Laflamme will present that to us.
Good morning, Chair Postman and board members, Garrett and Bollendroff. This morning, I'm presenting a recommendation on a petition. This morning, I'm presenting a recommendation on a petition for rulemaking. On October 2nd, Mr. Peter Peterson with Inland Empire Growing. Is that right? Okay. Submitted a petition to the agency asking that the LCB replace CCRS with an improved system. Because rulemaking is not required to replace CCRS and because LCB's traceability project is currently evaluating a long-term solution to replace CCRS. The director's office is recommending denying this petition. As background, the Cannabis Central Reporting System, referred to as CCRS, has been in use by the LCB since December 2021 for collecting cannabis traceability information. WAC 314-55-083 specifies the security and traceability requirements for licensees. Under subsection 4, cannabis licensees must track cannabis from seed to sale, but does not specify what traceability system the agency must use, only that licensees must provide the required information on a system specified by the LCB. Information required for traceability includes tagging and tracking of cannabis plants and products, inventory of cannabis, seedlings, clones, all plants, lots of usable cannabis or trim, leaves, and other plant matter, batches of extract, cannabis concentrates, cannabis-infused products, and cannabis waste, transportation and destruction of cannabis and cannabis products, and all point of sales records and excise tax records. LCB is currently evaluating options for replacing CCRS as part of the agency's traceability project, which began last year. The goal of the traceability project is to establish a transparent end-to-end traceability system for Washington's cannabis industry. The LCB is implementing a phased timeline for the traceability project, consisting of 4 phases with the following tentative schedules. Phase 1 is planning and requirement gathering. This phase is currently underway and will continue through June 2025. This phase focuses on gathering comprehensive input from stakeholders, including industry, representatives, government agencies, and public health to identify system requirements. Phase 2 is the supply chain implementation, and that is scheduled for June 2025 through June 2026. This involves implementation of the traceability system across the cannabis supply chain. Phase 3 is supply, distribution, and control. That is tentatively scheduled from June 2026 through June 2027. And this includes expanding the traceability system to cover distribution channels and regulatory controls. And phase 4 is retail sales implementation, tentatively scheduled June 2027 through June 2028. This phase extends traceability to retail outlets, enabling a comprehensive tracking system from production to the point of sale. Part of phase 1, which is currently underway, includes the Cannabis Traceability Project Survey, which is currently open and will run through the end of the year to gather feedback from the cannabis industry. The survey is available on the LCB website at lcb.wa.gov/examiners. And I will also put a link to the survey when we post the petition information today on the rules web page if people want to find that. As I mentioned yesterday, Dustin Brown, engagement coordinator with the Traceability Project, has been in contact with the petitioner and has provided him information about taking the survey and other information about the Traceability Project. So based on the information presented, the director's office is recommending denying this petition for rulemaking that was received on October 2nd from Mr. Peter Peterson, because rulemaking is not required to implement the suggested changes, and LCB is already engaged in efforts to replace CCRS as part of the ongoing traceability project. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board? No? Okay, yeah, I think appreciate the recommendation. I think if rulemaking could help us move faster, so then we would do it, but it's already underworked. And I also would just say that I believe we can probably deliver this a little sooner than we got a worst case really out there to make sure we have time, but I think everyone's interested in trying to move it a little quicker. So with that, is there a motion to accept the staff recommendation and deny the petition calling on us to replace the Cannabis Central Reporting System?
Yeah, this is Jim. I make the recommendation, or I move that we accept the staff recommendation and deny the petition replacing CR.
A second?
This is Ollie, I second.
Great. That's approved unanimously. Thank you. So, just getting my list here of those that have signed up. We now are to the public comment period of the meeting where people who have signed up already can speak up to 3 minutes. We ask everyone to limit your comments as much as possible to LCB business. And of course, refrain from any personal attacks or going too far off topic. Ask everybody in the room, in particular where the microphone's very sensitive, to be very mindful of others who are talking. Don't talk on your phone, crumple paper, anything else, because those that are listening online sometimes have a very hard time hearing. So we just want to remember that and not disrupt anybody. And we'll do the same, of course, for those online. The meeting, as always, is being recorded. It'll be available on our website later today. We'll start with the people online. When I call your name, just give us a second to find you in the queue. And we'll let you know when you should be able to unmute and go ahead. When you're at 2.5 minutes, Gretchen will politely let you know that you have 30 seconds left. And then we just ask that you wrap up right at 3 minutes so everyone gets a chance. We have a number of people signed up, so please be mindful of that. I'm going to skip the first because we haven't seen them yet. And we'll start with Brooke Davies. Brooke, you should be able to go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good morning, Chair Postman, Board Member Garrett and Bullendorf. My name is Brooke Davies, here today on behalf of the Washington Cannabis Association. I just wanted to quickly comment on the discussion around the cannabis flexibility payment flexibility, and understand that you're not wanting to move forward with the rules petition since you just adopted rules. And just for clarification, the petitioner is not a member of WACA, and we did not know that they were submitting it. But the concerns that they expressed in the petition are in line with what WACA expressed in our comments and what Amber Vaughn expressed at the public hearing. And, you know, to say that they are disproportionate, meaning there was only a few of them, WACA is a trade association, so all of our members brought forward the same concerns that you've heard through the petitioner. So just kind of the reason why the rules or the original petition was brought forward, which was not from us, is with the cash on delivery rules, what we were seeing in the industry is that sometimes there's only one person at a retail store that's able to sign a check. And if there were any changes and the amount didn't match and that person wasn't there to actually rewrite the check and sign it, they were often mailing it the next day. And so it made sense to change the rules to update that, to make sure that that was compliant and just also to facilitate. But there was never a limit on when the person receiving the check needed to deposit it into the mail or deposit it into the bank. That makes sense for an electronic transfer because that goes right into your bank. You don't need to physically do it. And Amber even cited when she did her public comments that her business was in Bellingham, her bank was in Seattle. So putting that 5-day limit did not make sense. So we understand that the rules were adopted and moved forward, but it's a little bit frustrating to kind of hear it characterized that didn't fully understand the concerns that we were presenting. And instead of addressing them or finding a way to work together, which I think there is a way, because we want transactions to be closed as soon as possible. We just want to make sure that the rules are workable and they make sense. Now it's in rule, and I don't know if it should have been there. And so we're going to eventually have to come back and look at it and fix it, when it would have been better, in my opinion, if we could have done a supplemental or fixed it, and then we have rules that work. So I just want to clarify that's the concern. Understand not wanting to reopen it at this point, but happy to answer any questions. And I did send everybody an email to kind of clarify. But we do hope that you will look at this and just make sure that the rules make sense and work for everybody. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next person signed up is Christopher King. You should be able to go ahead, Mr. King.
Great morning. All right, I'm starting now. And I just want to make a couple of comments now regarding what I believe to be your nascent departure from the board, Mr. Postman. It was announced last week at one of your meetings by Director Lucala that you've been appointed somewhere. I'm not sure where that is, but we'll get to that later. But in the event that I don't have much longer to address you, I'm going to talk about your legacy here while you were here at the board. First of all, you inherited a broken, racist agency, and you will be leaving a broken, racist agency. In fact, some of the things that have happened before your tenure have continued on throughout your tenure. And during this time, you have overseen the process. Overseen is a word I carefully chose here. You have overseen the process of reducing public comment from 4 minutes to 3 minutes. That's a 25% reduction, so we have less time to complain. Nice. In fact, to me, your whole tenure has been one of benevolent despotism. You have vociferously opposed when Black and Brown have put issues of racism before you with concrete examples from your employees doing things that were selective based on race, purely. So that happened. And during your tenure, I came to find out that there was well-reasoned discourse out in Colorado about your partner, Bill Lucala, and the fact that that market out there is also saturated by conglomerate whites who have a lot of money. Okay, just seeing the patterns line up, you know what I mean, right? So you have that. A couple other things I want to talk about too. As far as the transparency that's lacking at the agency, you've also overseen the process whereby Bill Lucala refuses to provide his CV. And I'm going to be harping on Governor-elect Ferguson to issue a public order, you know, a declaration that's not permissible. You know, every state director has to provide their CV, okay? It's not a rocket science to know that basically, y'all know I work in the wireless industry. Let's say I want to get another job and I want another assignment and I just walk up and I'm like, hey, I'm Chris King. I'm good. You don't need to see my CV. I'm good. How far is that going to get me? Not very. So it shouldn't get the director of a state agency any further, right? It's common sense, okay? That needs to be, every director of a state agency needs to put their CV online. I do know that part of Bill Lucala's CV also ties in, he talks about having worked with Rick Garza, who was also involved in racist policies.
Christopher, you have 30 seconds.
That's all I need. He's worked with Rick before at CANRA. Well, he's busy setting policy that he enforces here at the board. It's like a happy little circle jerk thing going on there, right? Right. So anyway, that's all I had to say right now. But yeah, where are you going, David? It's a question.
I'll speak to it later, Chris.
Well, I'm speaking to it now.
Good.
Anyway, see ya.
Time's
Have
up.
a good day. Yep.
Next
Bye-bye.
person signed up is Jim McCrae. Okay, Mr. McCrae, you should be able to go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to also acknowledge some of the things that I've noticed under Chair Postman's tenure at the agency. And mine are a little more complimentary. In your first month on the job, I brought to your attention a problem regarding some confidential data that was unfortunately being released in a subtle way. And when I brought that to your attention, during our discussion, you quickly, very clearly internalized the issue, and you came back, I think, leveraging some of your journalistic chops, and asked me a number of very direct and appropriate questions. And I think you came to a very quick appreciation of the issue and my concerns around it. Well, I was very pleasantly surprised, truly surprised, and pleased at how quickly the fix was implemented. It was virtually immediate, and encouraged to see that to this day that fix lives on, and the information in question is appropriately protected. So that's wonderful. Also, I do want to comment on your grace and patience in dealing with what has at times been heated, inappropriate, and even at times hostile interactions in the public comment period. I think your grace and your professionalism have been notable, and I really commend you on that. It strikes me that you've got good character, and that's the type of thing one expects to see in that. I personally will miss your oversight of this agency and suspect that it will be missed internally as well. Now, on the kind of constructive criticism side, there are a number of ongoing things. I'll just start with the consumer safety, which is my biggest issue right now. I think there's enough information available to the agency in spite of CCRS's issues to be able to judge that things are not as happy as they should be with respect to meeting the goal of public safety as it relates to the cannabis regulation. Public safety here specifically through the vector of consumer safety. I'm not going to belabor the point now. I've spoken on it numerous times in the past. At some point in the future, if you have interest in it, I'd love to have a discussion, just offline. But there are some big issues there, and they are ongoing. The heavy metals
Jim, you have 30
rulemaking.
seconds.
Thank you. The heavy metals rulemaking petition that I put in a year ago, I know it takes a while to get these things in, but to see that it has not even shown its way into the rule page. I mean, there's been absolutely no publication of it on the internal systems, whereas all the other stuff seems to be tracked there very nicely. Suggests to me that it's just one of those things that people want to keep quiet. I don't know why that is, but it kind of goes against the notion of a culture
Jim, that's
of
your time.
trust. Thank you very much, Gretchen. David, hopefully we can continue this. All the best with the AG, and give the feds hell, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Next person signed up online is Casey Calhoun. You should be able to go ahead. Casey, you should be able to unmute and go ahead. Why don't we skip? We'll come back to you, Casey, in just 3 minutes. Next person signed up is David Busby. Okay, David, you should be able to go ahead.
Mic check.
Yes, you're on.
Excellent. Thanks. 3 things. 1, congratulations, David. Good job. All the best in the future. The second thing is, you guys have just sent out an announcement about CCRS needing to make changes to the lab result data that gets reported into CCRS. And it all has to be done by December 1st, which is like 6 business days. I've long been a fan of the LCBs running their own system. I think more states should be running their own systems and taking control of their compliance reporting tech stack. But one of the things you do when you are responsible for softwares and technologies, maybe you version stuff, maybe you do more than a 6-day notice for changes to a system, especially a moderately complicated one. And, especially when you're dealing with, there's quite a lot of data that gets reported in the lab results. And then the third thing is, I would like to remind this agency yet again that there exists free and open source compliance reporting software that offers lots of the stuff that the feedback groups have told you, real-time APIs, better reporting infrastructure, also the stuff that like the JLAR group asks you about and CCRS doesn't have, it's already there. These lab result changes that you're having, this was already there. I brought this up with the agency, I think the first time in like 20 15. And it is disappointing to see the agency ignore it. Thanks.
Thank you. Let's go back to Casey Calhoun. See, the hand is up. You should be able to go ahead, Casey. Just have to unmute yourself on the Teams app there. Click on that microphone and you should be good to go. Their screen. Yeah, it should be right. Yeah, it should be at the very top of that screen. It's the, at least the version we're looking at here, it's the third little icon in from the right. Got the leave button, the share button, and then the mic. And you just need to click on that mic. And according to our control panel, at least that's what we need here. And then you should be able to go ahead, Casey. Yeah, we'll come back again, Casey. I'm sorry about this. Just keep looking for that microphone button. The next person signed up online is Ricky Lee. Okay, all right, we're not seeing Ricky Lee. Let's, has Elijah Henry joined us yet? Okay. No, William, okay.
There are some phone numbers here, but they didn't provide me with their numbers, so I
So
don't
we
know.
don't know. Okay, then we'll just go back to Casey Calhoun, try one more time. Give you a minute, Casey, to try to unmute that microphone button. Should be able to do that now, Casey. It's the towards the upper right of the screen. There's a microphone that probably has a line through it. And if you just click on it, the line disappears. All right, we're gonna have to keep going here. We can check back one last time. Remind me, and Gretchen, before we adjourn, but let's go to the people who are signed up in the room. And when I call your name, you can come up to the podium, and I think that microphone is on now. And the clock will tell you, the first person signed up is Sarah Charon.
Thanks, Chair Postman and members of the board. For the record, my name is Sarah Charon. I am the Chief of Staff of the OCW 3000 for the largest local union in Washington State, representing grocery workers, healthcare workers, and cannabis workers. I'm here to talk today a little bit about what we believe is potentially unfair treatment of Cantana Fest, an event that we sponsored, and asking you as the board to look into it. So just a little bit of background about why we supported this event. We think it was an opportunity to talk to potentially hundreds of cannabis workers about why it's important to have a voice in this industry. That was the purpose of the event. We feel like during the event, there was a particularly high level of enforcement. We had a hard time getting the event secured, and this was in large part, in our belief, because of LCB enforcement issues, potentially retaliation, potentially fear that both vendors and sponsors felt. Come to find out post-event, we've seen emails now because of a FOIA request that show potential disparate treatment, what we believe is disparate treatment, and we would like you guys to look into it. The emails show what seems to be a very high level of scrutiny after this event. Again, this brings up just a lot of questions for us. Why this event? Was it because our sponsorship? Why this particular event compared to other events that are held seemingly without similarly situated enforcement? Is it because of our union's involvement? We would like to know. You know, some of the other questions we have is sort of, is this consistent with recommendations made by the Heiler-Hintz report and subsequent legislation that has directed the LCB to be more education focused as opposed to what we perceived was very punitive potential enforcement? Again, these are some of the emails that we've discovered, and we'd like you to look into that as the board. Again, we're concerned again because of this potential desperate treatment. We feel like you have an oversight authority and that this issue is really important. Just to put a pinpoint on it, we know that when workers feel like they can report without fear of potential retaliation to them or highly scrutinized employers, that this is better for all of us, right? This is better for workers. This is better for the system. It's better for the community. So we feel like potentially this treatment is counter to empowering those employees, to making sure those workers have a voice. And again, sort of counter to
You have 30 seconds, Sarah.
Thank you. What we believe is sort of a very punitive approach to enforcement, which we feel like all of the reports and the subsequent legislation has encouraged the LCB to move away from. It certainly didn't feel like this at this event, and we would encourage you to look into this, and we'd like to know the answer.
Great, thank you. Next person we have signed up is Paul Bryce.
Hi, my name is Paul Bryce. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and holidays. Again, Paul Bryce, cannabis pioneer, happy tree retailer. Hope to be working with all in the industry in the years to come. Social Equity Task Force member, also bear the title of most fined, most targeted, attacked and hunted by the LCB. Rather not go through all the felonious accusations that attempts that LCB tried to target me, but it's all true. Here to talk about the intent of the law for social equity for the Black and brown most harmed, most affected. People talk about other states' social equity. Even your attorneys talk about social equity in other states and how they're not necessarily just for the Black or brown in other states. You know, I like to ask, like, what are we trying to compare ourselves to? The worst states, the worst representation? Hoping to find true friends here within the LCB for Washington State. This is a very diverse state. We should expect better from the Pacific Northwest. And, you know, appreciative to be here. You know, just real quick, a tree came down at a rental, an employee car spun off the road, drive 4.5 hours to get to one of my locations. And, you know, currently going through a lawsuit with LCB because I didn't get a social equity license, even though I am a true SCA. Don't feel like I got fair application for many different reasons. Didn't get to change my application. Just went through a LCB internal audit. Like to say I passed with flying colors. I think one of the things that you guys understand about pioneers like myself is, you know, going down the road we took to help legalize this industry, we want to see it done the right way. We take pride. I take pride in making sure that I run a very clean ship and hoping to find and support people in the industry that are still trying to make this a better industry. I like to think I'm helping pioneer for Washington State, making our industry look better, helping to prevent smash and grab burglaries, which I'm sure in the next couple months, hoping to show a little new things that I'm just trying to bring about for our industry. But mainly talking about the next round for the licenses. You know, we all know that it was taken advantage by many whites for fake representation of ownership along with Black people, just trying
Paul,
to
you have 30 seconds.
give them small ownership so they can own the whole thing. This has to be looked into. This cannot roll out and let this next round of licenses go out this way again, knowing how it was just taken advantages. And just real quick, I'm just try to sum it up. Yes, I'm Black or brown. I want to give thanks to Black Excellence in Cannabis. They've done much work, but I hear you guys often say, for the Black or brown, for petitions, sounds like it's the same. We're not all the same people. We all have different voices. You're just seeing us sound like the same and seeing more of us because of all the crap that we need to see changed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next person signed up is Gregory Foster.
All right. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you today. So today I want to express my appreciation for you, Chair Postman, and also to encourage the remaining board members to persevere. So thank you for accepting that appointment as the Chief of Staff for the incoming Attorney General. That is not going to be an easy job. The state attorneys general are the bulwark that the states have against bad actors and bad policies, including from the federal government. So our former Attorney General, now the Governor-elect, Mr. Ferguson, participated in 99 cases against the Trump administration, leading 36 of those and won 55. So that's pretty good odds. But now we're heading into a second administration, and in the face of that, you're choosing to walk into the fire, and I appreciate and honor that. So I'm going to skip the highlights of your service. There's been a lot, and a lot of things, as other folks have said, that remain to be done. And so instead, let's talk about carrying on and the board members' work they can do in your absence. One thing I'd like to see and encourage is to keep the rulemaking on schedule. We've seen a slip in that over the past several years, and in particular, the implementation of rules around laws, that needs to be done before the next session because the laws can change again. So like, for instance, 5080, that was passed in 2023. We're still not done with it. So encourage your policy and rules staff to provide precise dates. I've been seeing that slip a little bit because that would allow them to be more accountable and explain why the delays seem as necessary. And encourage in transparency, continue that push. We'd like to see regular public updates from the research program. Another thing we could see is regular public updates from the public health education liaison, because that person is up to a lot of stuff, doing a lot of work. And we don't see a lot of that publicly. As well.
Gregory, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you, Gretchen. The remaining board members have to step into some of the roles that you were playing. One is representing the board at the internal management team meetings, where you're finding out on a very regular basis what the staff is up to and presenting that information publicly. As well, there's the public health and prevention roundtables you've represented the board on. Someone needs to be there for that. And please ask
Gregory, that's your time.
To again come back during the caucus and provide legislative updates during the session. Thank you for your service.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Next person signed up is Peter Manning.
Well, Chair Postman, this is the last time that I'll be calling you Chair Postman. I'd like to say good morning to Board Member Valendroff and Board Member Ollie Garrett. David Postman, hey, you came on deck. We were dealing with social equity issues with Black and Brown inclusion. Still haven't kind of completed that mission. As Gregory Foster stated, yeah, we come up with rules and whatnot, and it seems like it's forever to get implemented. But hey, it is what it is. My topic today is, I really, I go back and I do research and I look at everything. And, you know, I have a conversation with board member Ollie Garrett, and she told me, Peter, she says, we can't live in the past when it comes to past harms. And that's hard for me to digest because I looked at how this agency affected me and my family. And I mean, it really affected us. To be completely 100% qualified to be disqualified based on race. Ollie tells me that. So what I did was I looked into Ollie's, what does Ollie do? Ollie works and owns one of the largest collections agencies. Her job is to dwell in the past. She profits from the past. Listen to this. What they call that in the hood, hypocrisy. I don't know what they call that in Whiteville, but in Blackville, it's called hypocrisy. We need to start addressing what was done to us in the past. Board member Ali, she needs to recognize that. I think her black battery is really low. She needs to go back to the hood and get a charge. We are not happy with her in the community because we're tired of her telling us that we're a day late, dollar short, or whatever it is. She's not attuned or attentive to what the needs of the Black and brown community are. And it's troublesome because she represents us on face, but in action, she represents something else. Anyway, that's all I have to say. We are going to continue to fight for Black and brown inclusion. I have no fear, white retailers, of retaliation, whatever you want to do to slander me.
Peter, you have 30 seconds.
I'm going to speak for my people. I will speak for white people if white people were getting victimized by Black people, the same as Black people are getting victimized by whites. I stand for what's right. Thank you.
Next person signed up in the room is Mike Asai.
Good morning, Chair Postman, Board Member Garrett, Board Member Ballandroff in the audience. My name is Mike Asai. I'm the Vice President of Black Excellence in Cannabis. I'm also the pioneer of Emerald City Collective, first downtown Seattle dispensary. First off, I would like to say Sammy Saad does not speak for us. Sammy Saad is not with Black Excellence in Cannabis. We do not condone his behavior or his disrespect. We are a solution-based organization. We have solutions for the social equity program. Removing certificate holders is number one. 37% excise tax exemption, reduce the buffering zones, vertical integration, meaning you can produce, process, and have retail, delivery and consumption lounges. And last but not least, we need grants and no interest loans for the next round of licenses. Peter Manning is the reason, let me say that again, Peter Manning is the reason we have social equity in cannabis in Washington State. This round, first round, he had a score of 290. Out of 310. This agency knew this, but yet he didn't get a license. Chair Postman, you knew this. Board Member Garrett, you knew this. Board Member Ballandroff and Director Lucella, you also knew this. It's a shame this agency continues to attack Peter Manning. Emerald City Collective was started because of my father, Shaka, born 1940, East Texas. He needed cannabis and hydration. He came from East Texas. He picked cotton as a young man. He fought racism every day of his life. I miss my father. I have in my briefcase emails from this agency admitting that they were aware in 2015 of the so-called dispensaries not having cannabis or marijuana on their incorporations. Many of the white people, they did not qualify, but they were granted multiple licenses, stealing opportunities from Black pioneers. In closing, in 2017, I was told by someone who I would not name, but they know who they are, that if I came down for public comment, not to say I did not obtain a license in 2016 because I was Black,
Mike, you have 30 seconds.
but today, the past several years, I know without a doubt it's because I was Black. I was not a day late or a dollar short. Revelations chapter 2, verse 2. I know thy works and thy labor and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil, and thou hast tried them which they say they are apostles and are not, and hast found them liars. Thank you.
Should we try one more time? So we're going to go back online and see if Casey is able to join us. And if not, we always accept comments by writing or. Mac, you should be able to go ahead now. Let's try one. Oh, looks.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, great. Hello. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Chair Postman, members Garrett, Vollendroff, and LCB staff. My name is Casey Calhoun. I am a holder of a preliminary letter of approval for a social equity license in Klickitat County. I wanted to offer my verbal comments today on the proposed rules to implement SB 5080, specifically the issue of license mobility. I will also be submitting written comments on the same issue in greater detail. Securing a license location continues to be a problem for many licensees, and I am concerned by the proposed rules for license mobility. And I'm concerned that the LCB is constructing rules that are in direct conflict with statute. In that RCW statute reads that all licenses issued under the social equity program under this section may be located in any city, town, or county in the state. The current proposed rules create two different license mobility structures that restrict mobility for the first round of applicants, which will in fact not allow for full statewide mobility, as is the clear intent of the law, the legislative intent, the Social Equity Task Force final report, and the majority of stakeholder feedback in the last survey. There isn't 2870 applicants and 5080 applicants. There is only one social equity program. 5080 expanded the program's license mobility for all social equity applicants with no statute language for different license mobility requirements. I would request that the LCB amend the supplemental CR 102 and readopt the previous license mobility language of 90 days after the next round closes. Original applicants may apply for a change in location anywhere in the state. I understand that no matter what rule is adopted, not everyone will be pleased. And I should say that I could benefit from full statewide license mobility. However, I am not requesting favoritism or special treatment. I am only asking that the board not adopt rules that conflict with clear current statute language. The board has yet another complicated rulemaking decision, but the choice is simple.
Casey, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. The board has yet another complicated rulemaking decision, but the choice is simple. Choose the clear legislative intent and adopt statewide license mobility for all. Thank you all for your time, and thank you all for your commendable patience throughout this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So that, unless anybody else has joined, no, that's our.
I looked for William. I looked for
Okay.
Ricky.
Just to remind people who have signed up, if you didn't get called on, you have to sign up when you do with the name that you'll use on when you sign into the app here, or we can't find you in the list of people. We've got at least 40 people online today, and we just don't know who's who. So if that's a problem, check next time. But also feel free to email any comments to staff, and they will distribute them to the board members. I'm just going to take a half second just to thank staff, first of all, for helping me for the last 3.5 years. There's great people in this agency who are trying as hard as they possibly can to do good things, and they push each other to do it. And it's hard some days. I get that. But in my 3.5 years, again, I've never heard anybody say anything in a closed meeting upstairs any different than what we say publicly about what we're trying to do here. So I just ask the staff to keep doing that and look out for each other, support each other. We're not in competition. We're all part of the same machine here. We got to help each other do that. And I also appreciate some of the public commenters over the years who have helped us, help me in particular, shape some things and learn some things. And it's always been eye-opening. I just will say I think the agency's in good hands. I think Willa Kella is gonna, he is successful and will continue to help this agency grow and excel. And people inside the building are excited about that. And I appreciate his partnership with me over the last 1.5 years and his friendship, which I hope will continue. And with that, we'll adjourn.